Let yourself go this summer. Go adventuring, go day tripping, go for less with an advanced train ticket from Southeastern. You can book with confidence too, because if things change, we've got you covered. Make changes fee-free up to 6 p.m. the day before you travel. Book now at southeasternrailway.co.uk/go. Terms and conditions apply. Available on selected routes. Stations must remain the same and any price difference paid. Changes must be made before 30th of September 2022 and can be used for future journeys within 12 months.
From the writer and director of The Guard and Calvary,
Long way to go for a party.
comes The Forgiven.
That's the time.
No, it's not.
This is the time.
He stepped out in front of us.
Starring Academy Award nominee Ralph Fiennes
You got into a car with a drunk, which makes you an accessory.
and Academy Award winner Jessica Chastain.
I feel like I've been an accessory for a long time.
Critics are calling it a boozy, biting saga and thrilling to watch.
People disappear here. They just vanish.
The Forgiven in cinemas September 2nd.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to sing a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting through my website, emailrevealer.com. We have a members section, so if you like today's show, check out our members section at oppermanreport.com, where you could sign up in a little membership fee there monthly. But we have exclusive shows and documents, all kinds of content in there that you can't find online for free. But our archives are for free. You can find those at Spreaker.com. And I encourage you to go back to Spreaker.com and look up the Opperman Report and search for interviews with my guest today, Stephen Hoffenberg, who is the former CEO of the New York Post. He was the CEO of Tower Financial and business partners with Jeffrey Epstein. And he's a real insider with a lot of inside information on what's going on right now down in the Virgin Islands and all this litigation against the Epstein Trust. Mr. Hoffenberg, are you there?
Yes, Ed, I'm here. How are you, sir?
Very good, and it's always good to have you back on the show. And the audience should know that our last conversation was totally a lot of interference. We had a lot of interference. So you know when you're getting close to the target when things are getting hot. So, Mr. Hoffman, can you tell us what's the latest going on with the Epstein Trust and Virgin Islands and all that?
Virgin Islands has taken a very aggressive position against the Epstein estate assets, and two co-conspirators of Epstein have been named individually. Darren Indyke, who was Epstein's lawyer for decades, and Richard Kahn, who was Epstein's accountant, have been named individually by the Attorney General George, is the lady's name, in the Virgin Islands, for the crimes that the public has seen charged against Epstein before his death. So these two men, Darren Indyke himself, a lawyer, an insider at Jeffrey Epstein's enterprises for over 20 years, and Richard Kahn, are facing enormous charges of criminality and a criminal lien. A very unusual criminal lien was filed by the Virgin Islands against the entire Epstein estate, which is over $600 million. And there's massive Virgin Islands litigation taking place. Go ahead, Ed.
Okay, now you're saying a criminal lien has been placed on the trust. Now, does that mean that Indyke and Kahn, it is, right, that they're not allowed now to remove any money from that trust or make any payments, disbursements from that trust?
Yes, they're restricted substantially from the disbursements that they wanted to make. And there is a monitoring of every disbursement supposedly going out of this over $600 million trust. It's carefully run.
What was the basis for the criminal lien?
There was a lawsuit filed by the Virgin Islands Attorney General, Mrs. George, naming Darren Indyke, this lawyer, co-conspirator allegation against him, Jeffrey Epstein, and Richard Kahn for all of the crimes that occurred, which is over $300 million unaccounted for of the $600 million. There is no paperwork substantiating what the estate has been doing, and the estate has made excuse after excuse. This Darren Indyke is the estate. Let's be very concise about that. Darren Indyke, a lawyer, a co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein for over decades, is the head of the Epstein estate, and 2 days before Epstein's death, Darren Indyke masterminded Epstein signing this trust document in prison so that this money could be controlled. This over $600 million could be controlled by Darren Indyke himself. And the beneficiary was Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein. So their plan was to disadvantage the American justice system substantially and obstruct justice in America, which they mastermind a great evil plan to obstruct justice. And now it's really taking place in New York. And please continue, Ed.
Endyke and Kahn create a will and a trust 2 days before the death. Do you find that suspicious?
It's unusually suspicious. And what they created was a storyline that prevents the United States Department of Justice of moving forward. It stymies and obstructs justice. And it's all very suspicious. Everything taking place is no justice for the Epstein victims. No justice in America. And it's a pity. There's no criminal justice in America. And America is stuck, really stuck, because these men masterminded a great way to confuse this criminal case in America. And that's what's taking place.
So you're saying they created the trust in a certain way to obstruct justice. Can you explain how?
Yes. Epstein's employment in gathering intelligence information was well understood by Epstein, Darren Indyke, and a group of lawyers in New York. And they figured out a way to play Epstein's gathering of intelligence information against the United States Department of Justice. If you'll recall, Alex Acosta, who was Secretary of Labor, was the prosecutor on the Epstein case in 2007 and 2008, where Alex Acosta, as the main prosecutor in Florida, gave Jeffrey Epstein and the others, his co-defendants, a non-prosecution agreement. Very unusual. And there was no indictment of Jeffrey Epstein or the co-defendants. Alex Acosta, the prosecutor for the United States Department of Justice, in the 2007 and 2008 case, said publicly that this is an intelligence case, not a regular criminal case. And it turned into that in New York City when Epstein got arrested in July and August in 2019. In July he was arrested, and in August 2019 he died in his prison cell. And there's been an obstruction of criminal justice since that death in the New York City courts.
What was the role of Endyke and Kahn with Tower Financial?
Indyke was a lawyer for Golden Wachtel, who was the lawyers for Towers Financial and Jeffrey Epstein and myself. At the time that Indyke worked for Golden Wachtel, representing Jeffrey Epstein and his enterprises. There's a substantial background between all of the persons involved.
You're going way back to Tower Financial, but the only person who ever had any kind of legal problems with Tower Financial was you. Everyone else walked away.
Yes, but there's been evidence developed over the years showing that the lawyers were penalized by $7 or $8 million in penalties that they had to pay for doing transactions, removing a fortune from Towers Financial's company accounts. And there was more evidence turned out. But, unfortunately, Epstein masterminded a great obstruction of justice that prevented the others from being prosecuted in that time frame. And all the other time frames, including now, today.
But you're saying that the attorneys, Endyke, and another gentleman you mentioned, they were fined or sanctioned and had to pay fines of millions of dollars?
Actually, it was the larger law firms who had the responsibility to work for the creditors, the investors at Towers Financial, who were fined for the misconduct of Jeffrey Epstein and Daryl Indyke. Yes, that's what occurred. And it was millions and millions of dollars. And the evidence is clear about the penalties.
Right.
But now we're seeing more. Now there's over $600 million of actual money available for the victims. And the question is, who gets the over $600 million? Does it go to the victims? Does it go to the Epstein family? Does it go to Darren Indyke and to Cohen, Richard Cohen? Does it go to Mark Epstein, his brother, Jeffrey Epstein's brother? Does it go to the Virgin Islands? That is the battle right now, which is a very major battle, and it's being fought out civilly, not criminally, which is a very grave injustice, an actual obstruction of justice. Go ahead, Ed.
You sent me another article about how the Epstein estate has failed to turn over any documents claiming the victim's attorneys. What can you tell us about that?
There is a problem in the Epstein estate since they filed the estate in the Virgin Islands.
Let yourself go this summer. Go adventuring, go day tripping, go for less with an advanced train ticket from Southeastern. You can book with confidence too, because if things change, we've got you covered. Make changes fee-free up to 6 p.m. the day before you travel. Book now at southeasternrailway.co.uk/go. Terms and conditions apply. Available on selected routes. Stations must remain the same and any price difference paid. Changes must be made before 30th of September 2022 and can be used for future journeys within 12 months. Let yourself go this summer. Go adventuring, go day tripping, go for less with an advanced train ticket from Southeastern. You can book with confidence too, because if things change, we've got you covered. Make changes fee-free up to 6 p.m. the day before you travel. Book now at southeasternrailway.co.uk/go. Terms and conditions apply. Available on selected routes. Stations must remain the same and any price difference paid. Changes must be made before 30th of September 2022 and can be used for future journeys within 12 months. Let yourself go this summer. Go adventuring, go day tripping, go for less with an advanced train ticket from Southeastern. You can book with confidence too, because if things change, we've got you covered. Make changes fee-free up to 6 p.m. the day before you travel. Book now at southeasternrailway.co.uk/go. Terms and conditions apply. Available on selected routes. Stations must remain the same and any price difference paid. Changes must be made before 30th of September 2022 and can be used for future journeys within 12 months.
Where the Attorney General of the Virgin Islands, Mrs. George, has complained to now 2 different courts in the Virgin Islands of an obstruction of justice in the Epstein over $600 million estate, where there's no complete accounting for the over $600 million. There's no document turnover of all the documents in the case. There's over 600,000 documents. There's just been an obstruction of justice occurring in that article continuously. And it occurs today, awaiting the courts to act in the Virgin Islands. The victims are suffering.
Yeah, this young woman, Juliet Bryan, who was a victim of the sex trafficking, is seeking compensation now, and they're stonewalling, basically.
They're obstructing justice effectively, which is amazing. I mean, it's going to happen one day where there will be opinions issued in this case by courts that will address all of this. But the tragedy is what's taking place and how it's being handled. It's really an obstruction of justice.
Let me ask you a question. Now, how does this work? We have Darren Endyke, who's an attorney, and he administers the trust. Now, the trust gets sued by this Juliet Bryant. So Endyke then goes out and hires like a litigator to fight that case?
Yes, and pays for it by the trust's money. And that's the complaint, that the trust is being used on charges against Darren Endyke and Richard Cohen, not about what should be done in the trust. This has no real basis of a penalty to the trust, and Endyke's using the trust to fight these cases on charges against him, which is outrageous, totally outrageous. The Attorney General of Virgin Islands is petitioning 2 courts to stop this. And it's really a difficult time for the victims.
And when you
the victims are able to collect if this obstruction of justice was stopped. They would collect.
When you have a situation where a trust is being misadministered, who do you complain to for that? Would you go to the Bar Association and make a complaint against the trustee who's running the trust? Or?
No, you move in the court where the trust is filed, and you tell the judge who's monitoring the trust about the obstruction of justice. And the Attorney General of the Virgin Islands has done that. She has explained that they're obstructing justice, they're stopping her at every turn, at every step, and they're just taking advantage and taking the money out of the trust that should not be coming out of the trust. That's what Darren Endyke is doing, and it's got to stop.
Now, could there be criminal penalties for that?
Well, the Attorney General of the Virgin Islands has filed criminal liens now against the trust and has set up the case for criminal penalties against Darren Endyke and Richard Cohen. And all she has to do is have the Virgin Islands move forward with criminal claims against Darren Endyke and Richard Cohen, and they'll be booted out of the trust right away. And that's probably her strategy, to get them thrown out of the trust.
And then the judge would appoint a new trust administrator?
Yes, the estate judge on the Virgin Islands would then clean up the estate and appoint an independent executor to run the estate without a conflict of interest. There's an enormous conflict of interest right now between Darren Endyke, Richard Cohen, the Attorney General of Virgin Islands, the victims, the courts, the 2 courts in the Virgin Islands, the civil court in New York City. There's conflicts of interest that have to be stopped. There's an enormous obstruction of justice occurring that has to be stopped.
Now, how long should a process like that take under normal circumstances?
Well, it has taken so far over 6 months, maybe 8 months. This is a real problem. And of course, they have the pandemic that came in the middle of this, which are excuses for Darren Endyke and Richard Cohen and his lawyers, saying that they were limited in the legal work that could be performed. But that seems not to be an excuse today, and it's heating up very substantially on the Virgin Islands. But the obstruction of justice is occurring in New York City as well, right now.
But as we've talked in the past, the Virgin Islands is very motivated to pursue this. What is going on in New York City? Any motivation over there?
Well, Epstein masterminded an obstruction of justice that is obstructing the U.S. Attorney Berman from a lot of steps he would normally take in dealing with the problems taking place in the Virgin Islands, because half of those problems are taking place in New York City as well, because Darren Indike and Richard Kahn are based in New York City, and the money looting takes place in New York City, and that gives that step, that criminality of the money looting, there's $300 million unexplained that changed hands, and that took place not on the Virgin Islands, but in New York City under an obstruction of justice by Epstein, Indike, and Kahn, and a bunch of lawyers, stopping the U.S. Attorney Berman's work.
We've had previous conversations, and we were talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, and at one point you thought she was dead, and then you were contacted by her spokesperson. Have you had any communications with them since?
Yes. And she is taking the position that she has immunity from prosecution and that she can't be prosecuted. And that is what she's basing her hiding out, not cooperating with the U.S. Attorney Berman in New York City. Her legal position is she can't be prosecuted. And
that's
it's
based
a very interesting... Well, she says that Epstein had done paperwork with Alex Acosta that issued this non-prosecution agreement in the big criminal case in Florida. And now there's a question if there's other documents that protect Ghislaine Maxwell issued in other locations that will obstruct justice and stop her from being prosecuted. And that's what she's arguing.
So basically, in the Florida deal, the Palm Beach deal, where Epstein did the 13 months of an 18-month sentence, there was a non-prosecution agreement and an immunity agreement to all his co-defendants, his co-conspirators, and his other people involved with him. And she's saying, well, since I got that, they can't prosecute me in New York, and they can't prosecute me in Virgin Islands either.
Well, that doesn't bind the Virgin Islands. She's claiming that binds New York, and there is talk that there's more paperwork that protects her from being prosecuted in New York by U.S. Attorney Berman, that she has additional paperwork that protects her, that obstructs justice. And that appears to be true. There's been a lot of witnesses that say that she has other immunities that would make it an obstruction of justice, that she can't be prosecuted. And it appears that that's what's taking place, because she's not being prosecuted in New York by the federal government. They have a very difficult problem with Ghislaine Maxwell. Very difficult.
Now, in any criminal case, it's unusual for a witness or a co-defendant to be given immunity, first of all, under any conditions, but especially if they haven't cooperated and done something for the prosecutor, for the government. Is there any evidence she's cooperated or helped the government in the prosecution of Epstein?
Well, there's 3 governments so far involved in this mystery story of Epstein. There's no sign, no documentation that she has helped the United States government to any degree. No. However, there's a lot of witnesses that have come forward that have testified to the media that she has helped other governments under paperwork protecting her that the United States of America has to consider in dealing with her. And that's occurred. That has taken place. And the bottom line is she's not being prosecuted.
Yeah. Now, in the immunity deal she got down there in Florida, was there any justification put in writing why she was given immunity?
No, there was no consideration. There was no back and forth. There was no basis written in the paperwork to justify why said paperwork was provided to Ghislaine Maxwell. There's no basis.
Now, we know that Epstein down in Florida in that case in Palm Beach had a legal team, Dershowitz, Roy Black, Jerry Lefcourt. He had an incredible Ken Starr. My God. What more can you ask for? This guy had the legal team of a lifetime. Who was representing Maxwell? Do we know?
Maxwell has had separate counsel paid for by Epstein. Jeff Paluvakar was representing Maxwell in the most recent cases, and Epstein had been paying all of the Maxwell fees and costs and overhead. And Maxwell brought a lawsuit not too long ago in the Virgin Islands to try and continue the Epstein estate payment for all of her overhead, legal fees, and other costs currently.
In the Palm Beach, again, in that Palm Beach deal, the Acosta deal down in the Palm Beach case, Epstein was also ordered to pay the attorneys he was ordered to pay for the attorneys of the little girl victims in their civil lawsuits. Am I correct about that?
Yes, there were several cases by the little girl victims that Epstein agreed to reimburse certain costs that he did reimburse to those lawyers. Yes, that was in the non-prosecution agreement.
Okay,
yes.
Now, is that unusual? Have you seen that before?
It is unusual. It is very unusual because the non-prosecution agreement seems to address a small part of restitution, which is what we're looking at in this topic, and that is unusual because there was no indictment. All there was a no prosecution agreement without a criminal charge by the federal prosecutors, Alex Acosta. That's very, very strange, and that's why they lost the case. To bring it back forward recently, the victims, they lost the case to challenge that no prosecution agreement because there was no indictment. And the case is so complex, the media gets lost. You're a private detective, Ed, and you understand criminality more than most of the journalists. And this is a pity, the complexity that Epstein and Indike turned this case into.
But even still, there's so many unusual goings on, and this is not an average criminal case. It's just not. This is an average litigation. This is just beyond. I can't think of another case in history that's this complex with this many lawsuits going back and forth.
There's no other case in the history of America that has gone the way the Epstein mystery case is taking place. There's no such case. And that's what's shocking for the victims. Shocking. And for the media, can't believe it.
Yeah, the victims are getting the least consideration in all of this. Let's take a little commercial break. We're with Stephen Hoffenberg, the former CEO of the New York Post, and he's also the former CEO of Tower Financial, which employed Jeffrey Epstein and Darren Endike and a cast of other characters that are involved to this day. And like we said, the biggest case in history, spies. What more do you want? Spies, rape, money laundering, changing hands, they're all over the place. Everything you could possibly want. Let's get back to more of Stephen Hoffenberg after these messages.
Let yourself go this summer. Go adventuring, go day tripping, go for less with an advanced train ticket from Southeastern. You can book with confidence too, because if things change, we've got you covered. Make changes fee-free up to 6 p.m. the day before you travel. Book now at southeasternrailway.co.uk/go. Terms and conditions apply. Available on selected routes. Stations must remain the same and any price difference paid. Changes must be made before 30th of September 2022 and can be used for future journeys within 12 months.
And now a word from our sponsors. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Stephen Hoffenberg, the former CEO of the New York Post and the former CEO of Tower Financial, whose business partners with Jeffrey Epstein. And is now heavily involved in all this litigation going on, this information coming out from the Virgin Islands and New York City in regards to this Epstein litigation. Mr. Hoffenberg, the last time you were on the show was about 2.5 weeks ago, and since then we've been unable to communicate because of different technical problems that appear. And in that last conversation, you were telling us that you believe that Endyke and these other gentlemen, I think with Kahn as well, had information, and even the brother, Brian, had information about Donald Trump, and that they would be willing to use that if they came under criminal indictment. Do you have any new information?
Endyke was the closest person to Jeffrey Epstein and all his dealings with Donald Trump, and also Alex Acosta. Endyke is now facing charges that are about to be filed as a criminal case against Aaron Endyke that calls for life in prison. There is no question that Endyke will seek to cooperate and turn over any evidence he has that would damage President Donald Trump. There is no question that will attempt to take place if the United States Department of Justice wanted that to occur. The question is, will that be invited in any capacity?
How old is Endyke?
50s, mid-50s.
Okay, so he's still a young man, okay. And he would have information, he would have first-hand knowledge of everything that went on in those negotiations with Alex Acosta, wouldn't he?
Yes, he would. And he does.
And he does.
And he does. And I don't think President Trump has considered that option.
Has Endyke ever met Trump?
I can't answer that because I don't know.
Okay.
I would say, in my opinion, because there was so much interaction between President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein personally, the answer would be yes. There was a lot of interaction.
You know, when these interviews go up, the Trump fans get very upset. And by the way, first of all, your background with President Donald Trump. Can you tell us what your relationship has been with Donald Trump over your lifetime?
Well, I supported him in his first race for President of the United States, and I worked in a super PAC that did support President Trump. I know him through his close friends and being a tenant at Trump Tower that I was, and I was on his side of the page for a long time. Right now, I'm in a case dealing with Jeffrey Epstein and a lot of victims where President Trump has an issue in the case where I don't think he's looking at it carefully. I think there's just too much going on in America right now.
What would you say to the listener who'll say, oh, Mr. Hoffenberg, Donald Trump kicked Epstein out of the Mar-a-Lago. He banned him as soon as he got wind of what he was up to.
All of that is true. There's no question. But where we started here was, is there evidence held by Darren Endyke, Epstein's personal lawyer or inside general counsel to Epstein, showing improprieties, violations of the rule of law by President Trump? And would Darren Endyke, Epstein's former attorney, who's been really in the middle of this case now, this is now the Darren Endyke case, no longer the Jeffrey Epstein case, would Darren Endyke, to try and get out of life in prison, would he try to make a deal, Darren Endyke, with the United States Department of Justice to bring evidence forward against President Trump that involves Jeffrey Epstein? That was how we started this talk. And my answer to that is yes, he would.
Okay. What do you make of, you've heard the story about Steve Mnuchin, Treasury Secretary, and that his name was on legal paperwork of a company founded by Jean-Luc Brunel?
Well, evidently that occurred when he was in the private sector. and that goes back a long time ago. And he was friendly, Steve Mnuchin, with that same group of people that Epstein was friendly with. So it is very possible he was in a business transaction that included those people. It's very possible.
And Steve Bannon was also another one that was friendly with Jeffrey Epstein?
Steve Bannon knew Jeffrey Epstein and tried to borrow some money from him and went to his 71st Street townhouse to try and borrow some money, and that's been publicized, but he wasn't in a business agreement. That has never been publicized with Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, there did come out an interview where Bannon had dinner with Epstein many times, and he was inviting.
No, there's no question that they did know each other. Yeah, but there's a line of doing business together and being friendly, and Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of people next to him that were powerful people, and Bannon was one of them.
Okay. What about Mayor Bloomberg? Connections between him and Epstein as well?
I think there's common knowledge as a New Yorker that Jeffrey Epstein was and Mayor Bloomberg, but there does not appear to be any unusual business transactions between Mayor Bloomberg and the Jeffrey Epstein enterprises. Doesn't appear to be anything.
What else do you have to share with us this week?
Well, what we're looking at here is the largest case that ever rolled out in New York, in the United States of America, against Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Darren Indyke, Richard Kahn, and a group of people that have been very effective in obstructing justice. This is an amazing case where nobody, Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, nobody has gotten away with victimizing these young girls and raping them the way these people attached to Jeffrey Epstein have obstructed justice. And right now, they're obstructing justice today, right this minute. And the victims are suffering. And it's an outrageous tragedy for these rape girls and for the money that's being held up by Darren Indyke, over $600 million that can go to the victims, can go to the United States Department of Treasury, can go to the Virgin Islands, can pay damages. That's being blackmailed, held by obstruction of justice by Darren Indyke. This is outrageous misconduct taking place.
It's funny you mentioned Bill Cosby, because Bill Cosby was a neighbor of Jeffrey Epstein, correct?
I believe there was a home on 71st Street that was owned by Bill Cosby, and Jeffrey Epstein's home was on 71st Street, the same actual road or block in New York City, yes.
Right.
Most definitely.
And you hear these stories about Bill Cosby taking these young women, they're drugged out of their mind, and he's pouring them into a cab, tossing them into a passed out woman, and then you hear these stories about Jeffrey Epstein, little girls, schoolgirls, going in and out of his place over there. How and this is a very wealthy neighborhood where they get a lot of police protection, a lot of police response over there. How could the local cops not be aware of this bizarre activity going on around there?
I believe it was publicized before in the media that the New York City Police Department was asked to stand down and allow this to be investigated federally, which the FBI has a very substantial file on this. And many FBI agents want to tell this story. And this story will be told because the FBI has the full file, and it's quite a file. And I'm sure this story is going to be told. But that's the obstruction of justice taking place in this case by Darren Indyke and Richard Kahn this second, preventing the FBI evidence from coming out. That's got to stop. That has to stop.
On kind of a side note, but it is kind of connected. This week, or the past week or so, Dugan, the ex-cop who wound up in Russia, has come up with some photographs that he's claiming is Burke. It was on this video that he has. It allegedly comes from Epstein's mansion. And what do you make of that whole controversy?
Well, Dugan, who was a Palm Beach police officer who did go to Russia for witness protection, he claims, for asylum, because his story is that what he knows and the evidence he has against Jeffrey Epstein is overwhelming, and he is living in Russia to protect the evidence. And he's given interview after interview about that, and claims he distributed 10 copies of the evidence itself to different people in case there's harm brought to former police officer Dugan. It's a pretty interesting story that he put on the air. But it shows you more obstruction of justice. It just cements what's taking place in the biggest case in history.
Do you know Burke?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right.
No, but there are stories that they have stopped the publication of very important evidence that's going to come out. And now we know why.
Well, what is the connection between Burke and Epstein?
They had evidence, substantial evidence, in stories to be published that would have brought possibly the end of the obstruction of justice that's taking place today. And they did not run the stories.
Okay. Anything else you want to share with us this week?
What the listeners can think about is how the biggest case in the history of America is suffering all of this obstruction of justice put together by some criminal masterminds, Jeffrey Epstein, Darren Indyke, Cohen. It's amazing how these raped little girls are being tortured for life and can't get justice. Can't get justice. There's no justice in the Jeffrey Epstein crimes of the century. No justice. You got to think about that.
Yeah, and if the estate can keep these civil litigations going, and the money going to legal fees and to their friends and their buddies and stuff like that, they can just drag this on forever and eat up the whole thing with the litigation. Mr. Hoffenberg, I can't thank you enough. As soon as you have something extra you want to come back and tell us, give me a call. We'll put you right back on the air.
Thank you, Ed. Nice talking to you.
Thank you. Good to talk to you again.
Bye-bye.
I've had, we ended there by talking about Dugan in this tape. I don't give it any credibility whatsoever. I've dealt with Dugan for a long time, and I can't believe anything this guy has to say, especially in regards to these videos he claims he has. And the reason why he went to Russia was because he was being charged with wiretapping in Palm Beach, and he has a girlfriend in Russia. So anyway, Dugan's a whole nother story. I've had him on the show twice. But by the way, you can go to the archives at Spreaker.com and look up the 2 Dugan shows I did. Did a show with Dugan, and I asked him, what do you know about Jeffrey Epstein? He said, I don't know much. I don't know nothing. Okay. Then suddenly he comes out with these things. Oh, he has all these videos, And in the second interview comes back, he got all these videos. Okay. Anyway, that's Dugan. Thank you so much, Stephen Hoffenberg. You can't beat Stephen Hoffenberg. He's on the tip of the spear. With all this stuff going on, he's known these people for 20 years. I've found this information to be very reliable and very useful in this work. As you may recall, I was the investigator in the Katie Johnson case back in 2016, going back. So I know my way around these circles as well, people involved in all the circumstances and things as well. I've been reporting on this story since 2013. First show I did on Jeffrey Epstein case, I couldn't even find a guest to come on the show because nobody even heard of him. But what are you going to do? Now everybody's heard of him. And now everybody... I even got the original file, too, that Dan O'Hanks put together when he was working for the tabloids and trying to identify the Epstein victims so that they could go obtain attorneys and get their story out as well. So, long history, body of work. We've done many shows. Nick Bryant, Robert Morrow, and Dan O'Hanks have been on the show. A lot of content on Jeffrey Epstein. Just Google Opperman Epstein. 500 pages come up. I've been interviewed about this topic 10,000 times. So it's all out there. Now everybody's in on it. Okay. All right, let's see what's coming up. I got a lot of great content coming up this week. Did an interview with this gentleman. I really enjoyed him about the Blue Mafia, about these police corruption and brutality going on there in Illinois. And I thought it was going to have a happy ending. I thought we was going to find out at the end that the Justice Department came in and cleaned the whole thing up. And nope, he says it's still going on. Didn't miss a beat. I have coming back on our show, I've been replaying those shows, The So-Called Prophet of Pittsburgh, about this cult down in Arizona. And I've been replaying that on my Spreaker channel. You won't find that online on YouTube or anywhere else, only on Spreaker.com, the Opera Report channel. And so I'm going to have Lenny Flatley coming back. He's working on a new project, a new series of podcasts. So we're going to have him come on there too as well. Now, a little dust up here. I was going to do a show about Jared Fogle with a witness, a first-hand witness in that case. And it seems that's fallen through. This hesitation there on the part of the guest to come out and share her story. Very interesting case, the whole Jared Fogle case. There's no doubt in my mind that I've done previous shows about this. There's no doubt in my mind that Subway was aware of what was going on there. There's all kinds. There was a lawsuit by Jared Fogle's ex-wife now, I guess, who sued Subway too, and that suits disappeared from the headlines, so who knows what went on in there. Very, very suspicious tale, this whole Jared Fogle thing from start to finish. Clearly, he could have been put out of business before and protected many children. This guy was up to his neck in all kinds of nonsense, too, as well. What else? Oh, I got this young woman coming on. We have Anissa's son coming back who runs the Forced Trajectory Project, dealing with police brutality and stuff like that. And Maddie, the daughter of Charmel Edwards, who was killed by Las Vegas Metro Police Department. Little woman, 5 foot tall, was a school teacher, special ed teacher, social worker, and gunned down by Las Vegas finest. Thank you so much, Mr. Hoffenberg, Stephen Hoffenberg. And now a word from our sponsors. OppermanReport.com. Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Do you like the work that you see us doing here at Opperman Report? You can support that work by becoming a member at OppermanReport.com. And as you have access to over 200 exclusive shows and interviews that you can't find on YouTube or Spreaker or iHeart or iTunes or KYAH. You can't find them anywhere else online, exclusive to our member sections, to our members. Also, too, there's images, videos, documents, court docs. And don't forget, you can hear your ad played here on the Opperman Report, reach hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis because the show is repeated every day all over the world. Contact me at operamanreport@gmail.com and I'll give you a good deal on advertising rates.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an aquadam can do the job. An aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents, they handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com. 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525. 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Here's to the great American settlers, the millions of you who settled for unsatisfying jobs because they pay the bills. Of course, there is something else you could do if you got something to say. Start a podcast with Spreaker from iHeart and unleash your creative freedom. Maybe even earn enough money to one day tell your old boss, "Hey, I'm no settler. I'm an explorer." Spreaker.com. Spreaker. Hustle on over today.